Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well on this day. I don't know what day it is today. Today's Tuesday, right? July 8th. I think that's the right day. 2025. I don't know where I am. Do you know where you are? Yeah, I know I am. I'm here with you. It's Fantasy Sports Daily Time, Monday through Friday here on the show. You can catch the show live on demand. You can watch the show. You can listen to the show. Many, many ways to get involved. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, basically all those places at the Ray Flowers. So you can check out my work on the social media platforms there. You can find me over at FantasyGuru.com. I'm in Discord every day answering baseball questions, answering football questions, talking dynasty, talking seasonal in the football area. In baseball, talking seasonal, talking DFS, talking wagering. By the way, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page over at FantasyGuru.com. If you do that, you can sign up for any of our products, including the baseball product. All three pieces of that, seasonal, DFS, wagering, all one price. So everything we do baseball the rest of the season is one price. You can always send notes, support at FantasyGuru.com. Support at FantasyGuru.com, and you can sit maybe on the field. Oh, I went the wrong way. And be cool like me, sitting on a Major League Baseball field, you know, just a bag of popcorn in your hand and a Hawaiian shirt. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio on Wednesdays. That show is changed time, so make sure you change your calendar, folks. Elite Sports Game Time moving forward for the football season is now 2 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, not 3 to 6. 2 to 5. So I'll obviously be on with Jeff on Wednesday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the new time slot moving forward for Fantasy Sports Talk by Jeff Mans and the Fantasy Guru crew. Where can you watch this show? Yeah, you can watch or listen. You can go to FantasyGuru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page there, and listen to the show as a podcast. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you consume your podcast. You should be able to find us there and like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. There's also 3 places where you can watch live or on demand, and you can leave comments, questions, if you'd like, and we can address those throughout the show. Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite, and YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. So all those 3 places, leave those comments, those questions, and we could talk about a lot of things. By the way, before we talk about what we're going to really be talking about today, remember you can click that subscribe tab at FantasyGuru.com on the top right corner of the page, and also sign up for the football product. Let's go. It's time. Get in now. Give yourself that runway before your draft. Don't go scrambling the 2 or 3 days before your draft and try to find out where do I sign up and where is it located and all that. Get in now. Do all the studying. Get the PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, IDP rankings, best ball rankings. Yeah, rankings. Get access to all the Discord discussions so you can ask all the staff questions about how you put your team together, all that stuff. We've got a best ball guide within the draft guide. We've got a dynasty guide. We've got all of these. We're going to have an auction guide. Justin Fensman and I are working on that. I'm going to make a note about that. So I make sure to talk to Justin about that here. And we get a plan set up. Already got 4 of my articles up here, looking at last year, looking at by the numbers. Pretty interesting stuff, I think. I'll have my running back PPR myth article posting soon. I think that comes out next week. And then the auction stuff here soon as well. So click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can get signed up for seasonal football, wagering football, DFS football. You can package everything together. And if you go VIP Platinum, send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Support at FantasyGuru.com. You might still be able to get a 50% discount on everything we do. It's a pretty good deal, so check that out over at FG. What are we talking about today? Well, there you go. Baseball news. We're going to talk some injuries on the hill in particular. Then we'll move on to MLB trade deadline, pitchers that could be on the move. Players that could be on the move. We talked about the pitchers last time out when we had this discussion. So if you missed that, that was, that was Friday of last week. So if you missed that, Friday of last week, we talked pitchers. Today we'll talk the hitters and who could be traded here at the deadline, playing off an article by Jim Bowden over at The Athletic. We'll also visit today with Russell Clay. Normally it's Armando Marçal. But today we're changing things up. Armando had a little bit of a scheduling issue. Hope everything goes well, Armando, if you're able to listen here. But we're going to change things up today. We'll talk to our man, Russell J. Clay. We'll talk to him about the running back position. We talked about the quarterback position last year, kind of an overarching view of his thoughts on some of the bigger names or the players that are at least being discussed. We'll do the same thing with him in about 25 minutes at the running back position. So let's make a change. Let's make me a little bit bigger, and let's have a discussion here about some pitchers before we talk about those players that could be on the move. Hunter Greene, woof. Trending toward the right direction. Everything's positive. He's going to make it back. We're going to have this decision, Nick Martinez or Chase Burns, who stays in the rotation. Well, he had a setback. He was scratched from a start yesterday, was Hunter Greene. We don't know what that means at this point. He had more discomfort in his groin. So they're going to give him further testing. They're going to do an MRI, and we'll see. Clearly at this point, a return in July is now up in the air. Maybe this is just a minor tweak and it's no big deal, and he wakes up today and feels good, and they run the test and everything's okay. But it is a concern with Hunter Greene. We'll have to continue to monitor this. Not good news for the 99, 100-mile-an-hour throwing righty of the Reds, who was pitching tremendously well before the injury struck. Remember, he had a back issue, but the groin is the one that's, I guess, bothering him right now. Hopefully in a day or two we'll get some information here, but yeah, it's never a good thing when you have a setback, because when we have setbacks here, it's not just okay, he's going to miss another 10 or 12 days. That's not. It's that he doesn't do anything for 10 or 12 days, right? So then you're further away from his arm being in shape to pitch in games, right? So then we're further away from him being able to throw 90 pitches in an outing, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll continue to monitor that one with Hunter Greene. Not good news there. Flip side, I guess there is some good news with Shane McClanahan. This one has been, following this has been crazy. His season was over, then he was going to be okay, then he was put on the injury list, then he was put on the 60-day injury list. Then he said he was feeling fine. Then a day later, he wasn't doing fine, and there were concerns about his availability the rest of the season. Then a week later, he's miraculously okay. Well, he's going to start a rehab assignment today. So, hey, I guess we're to the point where we can start looking at McClanahan and thinking maybe we'll get a chance to see him on the hill in August for the Rays. They will be very cautious here. Of course, we talked yesterday, if you missed it, about Drew Rasmussen and how they're going to handle him moving forward. They're obviously going to be very cautious, the Rays, with McClanahan having multiple setbacks in his health this year, coming back from the surgery on his elbow. But he is trending in the right direction, though. Again, we're still probably looking at a month out from here before we see him at the big league level. This is an ever-evolving story. I was asked a question in Discord yesterday, like which of these got Pablo Lopez, McClanahan, and because y'all think of the third one in a second. Someone's like, which one of these guys do I stash? And it's like, I mean, I don't know. At this point, I'm just hoping Shane McClanahan makes it back on the hill and is effective. I'm certainly not expecting him to be a star, and I'm not even positive he's going to be out there throwing 5 innings on a consistent basis. Hopefully that's all wrong and he has a good final 2 months. But right now, all best I can say with McClanahan is we're moving in the right direction. But we were moving in the right direction earlier, and he had setbacks that caused him to not be moving in the right direction. Manaea is going to make a start tonight, and there's a chance if the start tonight in the minors goes well for Manaea that he's back on the hill for the Mets on Sunday facing the Royals. That's a hope. He hoped he threw 60 pitches the last time out. The hope is to get him to about 70, 75 today. If that's true, he could probably throw 80, 85 on Sunday. Let's see. Now, there is also some word here that though Clay Holmes is supposed to be starting Sunday, they could piggyback these two guys, Holmes and Manaea, together to get Manaea introduced to the big leagues this year and to help conserve some of the innings. We talked about Clay Holmes. He's already thrown a major league high in innings pitched, and we're halfway through the year. So that's something to think about. As we get closer, obviously we have to see how Manaea does tonight. But as we get closer to the weekend, we'll be able to understand what the Mets' plan is for these two guys. Bottom line is the Mets really need Manaea back. It would be great to see him pitch remotely close to the level of pitching that we saw in the second half last year when he was terrific. So those people that have been waiting on Manaea might finally be able to get a payoff in the very short order. Let's hope things go well tonight for him. Darvish returned from the injured list. 3 2/3 innings, 5 strikeouts. Didn't pitch poorly. Didn't pitch great. Had a little bit of command issues, but pitched fairly well. And, this is a positive for Darvish. This is a positive for his fantasy outlook. He's an aging player. He's had health issues for years now. It's unclear, again, what he's got to give. But Darvish is a veteran who still gets outs, much like Max Scherzer or Clayton Kershaw. He's still effective when he's on the hill. The question, obviously, about workload. He's set to face the Phillies on Sunday. Could he throw 5 innings Sunday? Probably. It's in a matchup I'm rushing to start him against the Phillies, even though the Phillies have slowed a little bit here of late. I'm not really rushing to start him in this matchup. But For those of you looking to make an addition to the hill, Darvish is certainly not a bad dart to throw. He did look pretty good yesterday, given everything in his first outing in 2025. The Diamondbacks, and we sometimes connect dots where, as a human being, our minds work in a way that when we see a pattern, we connect things. And sometimes those patterns are truthful. Sometimes it's a conspiracy, and we're just connecting dots, right? The Diamondbacks have lost AJ Puck to an elbow issue surgery. They've lost Justin Martinez to an elbow injury surgery. The guy that has taken over in the ninth inning, because their top two guys in the ninth inning are out with elbow issues, is Shelby Miller. Now, Shelby Miller doesn't have an elbow issue technically. He has been placed on the injured list with a right forearm strain. What does a forearm strain often lead to in pitching? Say it with me: Tommy John surgery. Now, that is not indicated at this moment. We don't have the report saying that's going to happen. Okay? But I'm just left to wonder, are we being conspiracy theorists, or are we connecting dots that work, that matter, that are connected? Why is it that closer number 1 blew his elbow out, and closer number 2 blew his elbow out, and closer number 3 might have blown his elbow out? Is this something the Diamondbacks are or aren't doing? Again, injuries happen all across the landscape in baseball to pitchers. And, we've got young guys here, we've got lefties here, we've got righties here, we got old guys here. Like, it's a nice mixture of disparate pitchers with the common thread of all maybe having elbow issues. So just something to think about. It's another, remember last week, Spencer Schwellenbach, we talked about it here on the show, said that maybe the reason he has a fracture in his elbow is because his velocity went up. And it's something that, we're walking that fine line now where, as we've discussed here on the show so many times, guys can't make it through the season anymore. And if teams are willing to accept that, and it seems like they are, if players are willing to push for that 98-mile-an-hour velocity to get that contract, and it seems like they are, is this going to change? Or is a team, our agents, our players themselves going to say, look, I can throw 98, but I'm going to throw 95 because I don't want my arm to blow up? Interesting how all those relievers with the Diamondbacks may be dealing with the same issue. Tyler Glasnow on the positive side, I think, should return to be the starter for the Dodgers tomorrow against the Brewers. He's, I guess, technically being called out with a shoulder issue now. It's been a whole thing with Tyler Glasnow, right? We've talked about it here previously. He threw 78 pitches in his last start down at AAA, so he should be good to go for 85 pitches. We can all get excited about the return. Let's go for it, right? Am I starting him with wild abandon against the Brewers tomorrow? No. Would I start him? I mean, the real issue for me isn't 1 or 2 starts with Tyler Glasnow. It's, can we get this guy to pitch every 5 or 6 days? And the answer to that question, given the entirety of his career, is no. So what do we have in 2025? Hopefully, we've got the Tyler Glasnow that we saw last season. Is that a guarantee? Absolutely not. Is it a guarantee that he's going to stay healthy the rest of the year? Absolutely not. His return, by the way, means that Dustin May will now face the Giants on Friday in the opener of that series, and that Shohei Ohtani probably doesn't pitch again before the All-Star break. Probably not. As the Ohtani pitcher piece continues to be a wasted roster spot in fantasy with the way he's been handled. But the good news for the Dodgers, again, Glasnow should be back tomorrow. Blake Snell is returning, or getting close to returning to action too. Glasnow, Snell, and Ohtani, if they were to get those guys healthy in the second half, right? That's the whole thing with the Dodgers. Can they get their guys healthy? On the offensive side, let's talk about some hitters coming back from injury before we talk some of the players that could be on the move. Alex Bregman's got that quad issue. Apparently is healing quicker than anticipated-ish. Sounds like he could be activated this week. Now, he's already said no matter where he's at, whether he's activated or not, he's not playing in the All-Star game because he doesn't want to push it there. I can respect that. But there's a chance that he's back on the field either at the end of this week or next week for the Red Sox, which is really good news given the quad injury that they said was minor, then they said could cost him 2 months. So it looks like we're going in the right direction. So those of you that have been waiting on Bregman after his tremendous start to the season, kind of the linchpin of the offense there, he's going to have to be now with Rafael Devers gone with Giants, we'll talk about in a second. Really good news for Alex Bregman. He's getting close to activation by the Red Sox. Luis Robert is another player that's getting close to being activated. He's got that hamstring injury that he's out with right now. The expectation is that he's expected to be back prior to the All-Star break, so at some point this week. Luis Robert obviously is someone we'll talk about in a few minutes at the trade deadline, but we're all hoping he gets healthy and gets traded. I'll just put it that way. The Giants, I mean, this is how quickly these things go. And I wrote about Tyler Fitzgerald in the preseason over at fantasyguru.com, and pretty sure I was as low as pretty much anyone in the industry on Fitzgerald, because there were a lot of signs that what happened last year wasn't a sustainable thing for him. But boy, has this come fast. I remember when he was basically replaced and then sent to the minors for Casey Schmitt. Casey Schmitt then hurt himself. He had a hand injury, so they had to recall Fitzgerald. Well, Casey Schmitt has again been activated by the Giants in Angeles, and Fitzgerald again back down to the minor leagues. So it clearly looks like Casey Schmitt has surpassed Tyler Fitzgerald in the estimation of the Giants. So Tyler Fitzgerald, anyway, I mean, NL only is a different thing, but any mixed league that has Tyler Fitzgerald, like, just there's no point. The Giants have signaled twice now that they're going with Casey Schmitt over Tyler Fitzgerald. Casey Schmitt, second round draft pick. He's had a couple of really hot stretches. He was really hot when he was first promoted to the big leagues for like a week, and then went in the gutter. And he's had a really hard time establishing himself. But the Giants clearly like what they were seeing from him. They like his hard work. He's kind of become a guy who can play almost every position on the field. He's a past Tyler Fitzgerald. He's not as exciting a fantasy option as Tyler Fitzgerald, because Fitzgerald does have power and speed. Schmitt is a very boring. If everything were to work perfectly for Schmitt, he becomes Gleyber Torres. If everything works perfectly. I don't think everything's going to work perfectly for him. I don't think he's rosterable in the vast majority of leagues, Casey Schmitt. Not a direction I'd be going in. I don't see it. I think that if he can establish himself as an everyday player at the big league level, he's done a pretty good job. Final note before we talk about those guys that could be traded. Aaron Boone said that Jazz Chisholm, who's played third, second, third, he's going to become the full-time second baseman moving forward. The good news from a fantasy perspective is that it sounds like Chisholm really wants to play second base, so maybe this will help his mental outlook and productivity as a result. But even more so, he's played 29 games at second and 29 games at third. So he's already cleared that 20-game threshold. Almost every league uses. A lot of leagues obviously use a lower mark than that. So he's going to qualify at second and third base next year, so we're fine. Let's put him at second base. Let's rock and roll. Looks like that's going to be the home of Jazz Chisholm moving forward. Now, again, last week, I think it was Friday, we talked about the pitchers that could be on the move, some of the hitters that could be on the move. This comes from an article by Jim Bowden, the former GM of the Nationals and Cardinals. Who else is he the GM of? Mets? Oh, man. Jim Bowden. Why is Ray Flowers forgetting Jim Bowden? Phillies? Who the hell is it? Why am I so stupid here? Let's see. Jim Bowden was the general manager of the Reds, of course. Why am I having such a hard time finding this? I'll figure this out in a second. But anyway, he was GM for like 15 years. So long time. Jim Bowden was the face of the Nationals organization, and I've worked with him many times. I've talked to him many times. I'm stumbling here, trying to figure this out because I'm an idiot. But Jim's a good guy. I worked with him a bunch of times. Always encouraged me, and I always appreciate that from Jim. But anyway, he wrote an article. He talked to 40 executives, mostly presidents and general managers. On the condition of anonymity, he didn't share their names, but he asked them, hey, let's talk trade deadline, and they did. And when they did that, he came up with a list of players. And again, we talked about this last week, and it was the Nationals and the Reds. So thank you, Ray, for not being an idiot any longer. Here are the players that were the highlights of the article through his discussions with the front office people in baseball. Josh Naylor was the number one guy mentioned at the trade deadline, and the Diamondbacks are kind of in that zone, right? Are they going to be buyers or sellers? Well, there's multiple guys on this list, Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez. Now, in the case of Suarez, you've got Jordan Lawler who can come and play third base, right? We talked a lot about Lawler on this show. Right now, he's dealing with the hamstring injury. Not a long-term thing. He should be good to go by August. So that would be right after the trade deadline. So it's possible Suarez gets dealt and they just put Jordan Lawler at third base, and maybe they make him their third baseman because of his health concerns. Maybe they just leave Perdomo at shortstop. That's an option for this team. So that's, and Suarez has had a great season. He is one of the more consistent power hitters in baseball. He is not he's on pace to hit 50 home runs. He's not that guy, though he almost hit 50 home runs a few years ago. He's a 30-80 guy, a 29-85 guy. Like, we know who he is. These guys got holes in his game, but when he's in a groove, he can carry a team. And he's had a really good season. He's 33 years old, so it's not like he's an aged player that has no future. So he's a guy that could be on the move. The other's more intriguing from a fantasy perspective, I think, or maybe not. He's dealing with some health woes now, his neck, and he's kind of beat up at the moment. But he is a really good hitter, and he has developed, I think, a little bit further than anyone anticipated. Certainly more than his brother Bo, who can't quite figure it out with the Guardians. But Josh Naylor's 28 years old, be a free agent at the end of the season, so he's a rental, and that's an issue that you deal with in terms of what your return's going to be. What's the return on a guy that's going to be a rental? Also, Eugenio Suarez is going to be a rental. He's also a free agent next year. So both these guys could certainly bring back pieces for the Diamondbacks. But, I mean, there's always a chance, and we talked about this last week with the pitching side of things, with Merrill Kelly of the Diamondback. The Diamondbacks could blow this thing up. They could trade Kelly. They could trade Naylor. They could trade Suarez. They could trade all these guys. And then in the offseason, re-sign them and bring them back next year, which would be a fascinating development if that's indeed what happened. But Naylor and Suarez kind of at the top of the list on the infield for guys that could be traded. This Jarren Duran thing with the Red Sox is interesting. He was on the article. Jim wrote directly, I was surprised at how many front office executives mentioned Duran. I've said the same thing. I'm surprised by it too. You look at the way this team is constructed. Roman Anthony is going to be in the outfield. Cedric Raphael is going to be in the outfield. And then Weiler Abreu is a pretty good hitter. He just won a Gold Glove. He's younger than Duran, and he's controlled for a longer period of time. So, I mean, Duran doesn't become a free agent until 2029? Is that right? Like, I don't, for the life of me. They also have Masataka Yoshida, who basically has to be a DH, can't really play the outfield anymore, so that limits them. Gosh, yeah. He said Duran's not a free agent until 2029. I don't know why in the world they would be trading him. He's making $3.9 million. I don't know why in the world they'd be trading him. But I guess they're like in full rebuild mode. We talked about this. Maybe they can trade Duran, open up a spot. They've already saved the money by moving on from Devers. They have this, hundreds of millions of dollars now they could spend on free agents. We'll see. I think it's an odd one, but someone's going to get a hell of a player in Jarren Duran if they do indeed move him. And he is a name that is out there as someone who could potentially be moved by the Red Sox, and that could get really intriguing, right? Depending on where he ends up. Bryan Reynolds, I mean, look, the Pirates, he's under team control since 2031. He's 30 years old. He's basically in the prime of his career still. He's making $15 million a year. You can't have that guy on your team. What are you doing? Like, started the year really slowly, but has picked things up in a significant way the last month and a half. He's basically been the player he's always been. He is stable. He is consistent. He is durable. He's not making a ton of money. He's team controlled, and the Pirates don't want to keep him. So more power to you, Pirates. Trade Bryan Reynolds to the Giants. I would love to have him on my team. Taylor Ward is an interesting player. Taylor Ward is under team control through next year. So he's got one more year, so he's not a rental per se. He's obviously bashing the baseball. He's on pace to hit 40 home runs. Like, he's crushing the baseball. Now, his batting average and his on-base percentage are really bad. So he's kind of sold out for the power stroke, but it's working this year. It is not a bad place to hit in Anaheim, especially for right-handed power hitters. So that I'll have to watch where he ends up if he does get moved. But I have said for years, Adele and Ward, I hope they would get dealt. Adele's recent hot stretch here, you're probably not going to see him move. But Taylor Ward, coming to the end of his usefulness for the team, because they're not going to sign him to a big long-term extension, working on his best power season of his career, very easily could be moved by the Angels. Luis Rengifo is another Angel that could be dealt. Rengifo, really disappointing. There's been moments this year where he's been flat out awful. There have been moments this year where he's been terrific. Unfortunately, it's been more bad than good. There's no doubt about that. Last season, he was a guy that I was very high on. Told all of you to draft him, roster him, all that kind of stuff. It turned out really, really well. He hit 300 with 24 steals, playing multiple positions. Now, he only played 78 games because of injury. He's been banged up a little bit this year. He's not running with 2 steals. So if Rengifo gets traded, it's very possible he's either A, traded to a team that has an injury, or B, traded to be a super sub. I don't know if anyone's counting on him right now or not. So, there's that. But he could be moved. Angela, you said you've been hearing rumors of Mitch Keller. Did you hear those rumors on the show last Friday when we talked about him? Oh, yeah, we talked about him last week when we discussed the pitchers that could be on the move. Cedric Mullins is another guy that seems very likely to be moved. The Orioles, as we detailed yesterday on the show, I don't know, man. I mean, they're at 6 catchers, and none of them is Samuel Basallo. Cedric Mullins has been rumored to be dealt. He's becoming a free agent. He's 30 years old. He's a quality big league player who we can utilize in the fantasy space if he's playing on a consistent basis. He also is kind of just a dude offensively if you look at his overall game, platoon nature. So he's probably going to get moved. And if he does get moved, he very easily could be dealt to a team that plays him in a platoon role. So that could crush his short-term fantasy value of Cedric Mullins. Ryan O'Hearn, this is somebody that we've talked about on this show, on Sirius XM. He is a very good player. He's 31 years old. He's only makes $8 million, right? So he's not overly expensive. He is a crusher of right-handed pitching. He's done that for a couple of years now with the Orioles. He does become a free agent at the end of the year. But again, he's making $8 million and he's 32 next month, 32 later this month, actually. So it's not like he's not getting $150 million or anything like that. He's going to get a reasonable contract. So a team maybe gets him in the house and says, hey, you like what you see here, we're going to sign you a long-term deal. It also could potentially open up a spot for the return of Ryan Mountcastle or Samuel Basallo if they ever decide to call him up. But he's a guy that I could easily see the Orioles moving. Luis Robert, we talked about him earlier. Robert's set to make $15 million this year, so obviously about $7 million left, something like that, $7.5 million for the rest of the year. $20 million team options each of the next 2 years. This broken down outfielder that we see right now is not worth $20 million a year. The guy that we saw a couple years ago, and he was basically a 40-20 guy, that guy's worth $20 million a year, right? So there could very easily be a lot of interest in Luis Robert. He won a Gold Glove a couple years ago. He's got power. He's got speed. He's stealing bases still again this year. He's built like a linebacker. Like there's a lot to like with him. A little bit of issues with staying healthy, and clearly the situation there in Chicago kind of looks untenable for him. And I know a lot of teams will be looking at past performance and saying, we get this guy in-house, we get him in a good environment. Here we go. So he's probably going to be moved, and the return there could be significant given, again, that he's under team control for a couple more years. Nick Castellanos, there was the issue about his defense and all of that, but Nick Castellanos is very effective, and he continues to be very effective. He's 33. He's got an OPS of over 110, OPS plus over 110. He's hitting, 280. He's on pace for 20 home runs. He's the same guy every year. He's just very consistent, but he's a compiler. He's not sexy. He's not exciting. He's not a team leader. But as a 5th or 6th spot in the batting order, he's really good. He's very good for what he is. He's owed $20 million through next season, $20 million this year, so about 10 the rest of the way, and then $20 million next year. So he's not a rental. You have him for a little bit of extra here. If the Phillies decide to move him and open up some roster space, that's an issue or a direction they could take with Nick Castellanos. So obviously continue to cover this. Let me check with the trade deadline is the 31st, right? Middle of the week. Let me verify that before we talk to Russell Clay and talk some football. Trade deadline 2025. I do have a type instead of 20,025. All 3 teams can go to the trade deadline. Of course, when you look this up, no one does it. It's July 20. Yeah, it is July 31st. So it'll be a Tuesday, July 21st? Thursday, July 31st. I do my draft day diary for those of you that miss it. I sit down, I got the TV on, I got the computer on, I got the radio on, I'm checking everything, and I just write all day long. So it'll be an article that'll, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 words, depending upon what happens. So join me that day. We'll talk more about it as we get closer. Before we talk some football with Russell Clay, remember we do have, in addition to being able to go to fantasyguru.com and clicking that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page, besides being able to do that, and join us for fantasyguru.com football coverage all season long. You can also sign up with Drafters, and in the draft guide at fantasyguru.com, Tyler Beaker's done a whole series of best ball articles, including one specifically for this Drafters best ball format. So he'll talk you through the best ways to put a team together. There's even rankings for the Drafters best ball tournament. If you've never signed up with Drafters.com before, go to drafters.com/refer/elite. Drafters.com/refer/elite. That gets you a 100% deposit bonus match up to $500, which is big. You put 150 bucks in there, you get 150 match. You put 300 in, you get a 300 match. Drafters.com/refer/elite. Now, if you've joined us, because we have partnered with Drafters.com in the past, if you've joined us and them to play in their best ball tournament, and you're saying to yourself, Ray, come on, man, what am I going to do here? I'm already signed up. I'm not eligible for that introductory offer. Drafters has got you covered. Drafters says, you know what? For those of you that are returning, use this promo code for a 20% match on the reload. Elite Reload is the code. One word, Elite Reload. So whether you're a returner to Drafters.com, a new person at Drafters.com, however you want to get involved, there's 2 ways to do it. Use the one that's applicable for you. Get signed up for their best ball tournament, and then go to fantasyguru.com. Check out Tyler Beaker's work where he breaks down how to win and have success in the Drafters best ball format. So there you go. Normally we talk to this next guy on Fridays, but he's stepping up for a teammate because he's just that kind of guy. A teammate needs a little bit of a boost, a little bit of help, and our man Russell J. Clay of fantasyguru.com steps up, and he's in the mix today. So he's here today with us. Armando Marsal, who's normally with us today, will join us on Friday in Russell's spot. So Russell Clay, the man of the hour, stepping up for his teammate. Let's welcome him into the show. How you doing, Russ?
What's going on, Ray? I'm trying to think of a good supporting role player right now, and all I could think of was Jaylen Warren stepping in for a third down for Najee Harris, but none of that works anymore because they don't have Najee Harris anymore. So there you go.
Well, I was thinking Jaylen Warren too. That's pretty funny. Well, obviously I have Caleb Johnson, but yeah, you know. But I see. I don't want to make it seem like you're just a third down back though. So while I appreciate what you're saying here, let's just say it this way. Armando had an issue. You stepped up as a great teammate does. So thank you. How are you doing today, Russ?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. You got the beard growing in a little bit more, it looks like, or is that just me?
Oh yeah. I mean, intentional or not really. But it is a thing that's happening right now. Yes.
Oh, well, you know, sometimes you just gotta let the beard grow. I know, man. I look back, I posted a photo the other day. He was actually here on the show. For those of you that missed it, you can check it out. Of 2020's July 4th. So COVID time.
Oh, yeah.
And I painted my beard red, white, and blue, and it was like big. I remember back at that time, Jeff Mans actually one time sent me a note. He's like, Ray, are you okay? I'm like, what? He's like, you look kind of disheveled. I'm like, bro, I'm not leaving the house. You know, I'm just letting my beard grow. I'm not like having a fit or anything. So he was a little concerned for me, Russ, because my beard got very.
There you go.
Looked like a homeless person. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. You can find him on Twitter X at Russell J. Clay. You can find him in Discord answering questions all the time. We talked about him on his visit last week about the quarterback position. So let's talk a little bit running backs today. And we're kind of looking. Russell's our dynasty guy over at fantasyguru.com. But we're looking just at 2025. We're not looking at the long-term value when we're having this series of discussions with him right now. So let's look at Christian McCaffrey this year. There is a lot of discussion about Christian McCaffrey. Some people saying the injuries don't mean anything, which to me is crazy. Some people saying I'll take Christian McCaffrey in the first round. Some people saying if he's sitting there in the second round, I got to take him. Your thoughts? Do you have to take Christian McCaffrey at any point? Is he going to fully rebound? Is he going to play 14 games this year? Who is Christian McCaffrey for you, Russ?
We can take Christian McCaffrey, but he's certainly not the guy I'm circling like maybe previous seasons. We, of course, all know the upside, especially in San Francisco, but you know, they keep sneaking in these running backs. They drafted Isaac Guerrero last year, and they drafted Jordan James this year. And, you know, based on how things played out for McCaffrey last season, I don't know if he's ever going to be a fully featured guy again. Right. You know, just based on that Achilles injury. I know it's going to be healed by this time this year, but man, it was a strange circumstance. Unlike others where it's a knee injury or like something major, it was something that just kept going. So I don't think McCaffrey is going to be a featured guy anymore. But with that said, you only need 13 touches a game some weeks to have 25 fantasy points in San Francisco. So Still like McCaffrey, but by no means someone I need.
The NFFC since June 15th has had like 60 plus drafts. McCaffrey's ADP is about 13th.
Yeah.
No way in hell I'm doing that. Me. Are you doing it there? You said, yeah, like you're not really wanting to do that either.
Like it's about right and not something I'm doing.
Okay.
It seems like the cool kids are doing that, and I'm going to let them do that. And if it works out, I'll say, yeah, okay, I get it. But
I heard this on Sirius the other day that, well, if a player's healthy when the season begins, I don't worry about injuries they've had in the past. To me, that's crazy. That's Christian McCaffrey hasn't had one injury. He's had injury after injury after injury after injury after. He's had more injured seasons than healthy seasons, right? Like this is not. And last year it was one calf, then it was two calves, and he's flying halfway around the world to have treatments. Like, okay, more power to you. It's the Jacob deGrom thing in baseball, and Jacob deGrom has been spectacular this season. In the last 4 years, he's not. But hey, this year he's been great. So good luck with Christian McCaffrey. I'm just not doing it at that price. Bucky Irving is the next guy I want to talk to you about. Bucky Irving's ADP in the NFFC is about 20, so a little bit behind McCaffrey, but basically that second round back. Changing offense a little bit, obviously change at the OC. A lot of what Irving did last year, was because some of the receivers were hurt, and they bring back Mr. White there to be his third down back and all that kind of stuff. Bucky Irving, there's some folks at fantasyguru.com, including Jeff and Ted, who've been on the radio many times and said, we like Bucky Irving, but this price point is just too aggressive. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Unfortunately, I do agree. It's like you want to like Bucky Irving. I like Bucky Irving. I loved Bucky Irving last year as a last round guy. I mean, he wasn't really on the radar at all to begin last season. And that was a really fun setup for Irving. And now the price, you look this year and it's very high, and for good reason, right? He had a fantastic rookie season, 1,500 yards, and wasn't really the featured back until midway through the year. So he's excellent. I imagine he's going to be good again with Baker in 2025. I'm not against drafting him. Like McCaffrey, I'm usually just letting slide by. Like I'll take Bucky, but it's not going to be a high conviction play. It's more, okay, I guess I'm doing that. I guess we're all in, because that's really what it is, right? You're all in if you're taking Bucky at this price. So seems sketchy, but I'm not against it.
Russ Clay of fantasyguru.com normally joins us Fridays, but again, he's here today with us as Armando Marsal. We'll cover him on Friday. Bucky Irving's ADP again is about 20th of the NFFC since mid-June. Chubba Hubbard's 47. It's a significant difference. Obviously, one guy's being taken in the second round, and the other guy's in the fourth round, so there's the differences there. But if you were to compare Hubbard to Irving, straight up, who would you take? And with the drastic price difference, would it be crazy to say, I'm not going to take Bucky Irving, I'll just take Chubba Hubbard and 30 picks later?
Yeah, there's a lot of volatility in the running back landscape right now. And Chubba's surprisingly not one of them. He played really well last year. I got to say, I have not seen many mid-season contract extensions for running backs. Yeah. And that happened for Chubba last year. And I had long moved on from Chubba after they drafted Brooks. And so it's one of those where I have to put my takes in reverse and say, Chubba not only proved me wrong, but proved the Panthers or his own organization wrong. They had moved on. So I like that play quite a bit in the 40s. There's not much competition there. I like Trevor Etienne, and Rico is Rico, but is it Jordan Mason's in Minnesota and Rico's in Carolina? I'm pretty sure that's what is happening, unless I'm hallucinating.
No, you got it.
All right, good. So yeah, there's no competition for touches there, and Chubba should be great.
Detroit loses their OC. Some people are concerned about it. Some people don't care. Okay, I think you should be concerned about it. But hey, Jahmyr Gibbs going top 5 basically in every draft. Dave Montgomery still going top 25 in the NFSC at the running back position. Still a guy that, the last 2 years, double-digit touchdowns, getting a little older, dealing with some health issues here. It's not easy running for double-digit touchdowns when you're not the guy. You're not the guy in the backfield, right? When you're sharing the backfield. I've always been a fan of David Montgomery and had him on many teams. And I don't mind him at this price point, 22nd at the running back spot, about 65 overall. But I'm also kind of like you were saying with Bucky Irving, if I don't get him, I don't get him. Like, what are your thoughts on David Montgomery? It's easier for me to see regression from last season than a repetition of it.
Getting older, has not suffered a major injury, even though every season it does seem like he has a moment where he gets carted off or something terrible happens, and then he's just back the next week. So that's a credit to him. It really is just the goal lines, right? He's 25 rushing touchdowns the last 2 years. So pretty insane numbers there. I imagine that opportunity will still be there. And I had to just look up their depth chart because I was like, who would even be the backup there? It's Reynolds and Bucky again. They really didn't bring anybody in. So I like Montgomery 28, but not a priority by any means.
Let's talk about the Giants. This whole offense, again, it's one thing to know where an offense is at if you know who the quarterback is. We don't really know who the quarterback is. Of course, it's Russell Wilson to start the year. We know that. Is it going to be Russell Wilson all year long? Is he going to get replaced by Jameis Winston? Is Jameis Winston then going to get replaced by Jackson Dart? How many starts does Jackson Dart make? Neither Wilson or Winston is the answer for this organization. So it stands to reason that if at some point Dart impresses in practice, they'll give it a go. So we have all that whole thing and then the passing attack and all that. What about the backfield, Russ? Tyrone Tracy, I got another question about him over in Discord. You check his ADP out. He's about 30, 31 at the running back position. So he's being kind of drafted as a flex option. They drafted Scattaboo. They've got Devin Singletary still around. There's concerns about Tracy and the addition of the guy that could take the goal line work. There's questions about Tracy and the fact he had some fumbleitis. What are you thinking about Tracy, given his cost this year?
So I went into the offseason saying to myself, I'm not going to be a Cam Scattaboo guy. I like Cam Scattaboo. Just for fantasy, it's going to be hard for him to become a featured weapon. And then when you look at Tracy, you mentioned the fumble issues, did get benched a game there last season. So there is that history. The clear explosive weapon in that running game. And, being a former receiver has that ball skill set as well. So it's going to be a committee. Wouldn't be surprised if Singletary gets some touches as well. A fun committee, much better than, a lot of situations in terms of overall quality. For fantasy, though, there's going to be one guy in every league that wants Cam Scattaboo on their team.
Yep.
And if he were like a last round guy where maybe he should be, I'd be in.
Sure, right.
But someone's going to take him 5 rounds ahead of where he should be going. And I'm just like, all right, you can have him. So it's one of those where I'm going to let somebody else get him. And if he hits, he hits. I don't like the value.
Mid-June over at the NFC, Tracy's ADP is 96. Scattaboo is 113. So like you're saying, it's just
that's high.
Right there. Yeah. This next situation, and you use the worst word in the world in fantasy, it's committee for the Giants. Committee in Denver. Ooh. Like we were all excited about RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey was going to be our guy. If anyone drafted early, they got a good value. His value is now skyrocketed upward because people heard some good things from Sean Payton and they started to realize how good the offense could be. Then they add J.K. Dobbins after the dinner, and it's like, oh, now Harvey's going the other direction again, and Dobbins is going up. Audric Estime, who has to get the ball more according to his head coach, which is kind of hard to do with the other two guys on the roster. But anyway, what are we doing here? I mean, is RJ Harvey still the guy? I mean, is he still because he's still, still has the highest ADP, and I still think that he's very likely to be the best back on this team over the course of the season. It doesn't mean it's going to be that way at the start of the year.
Yeah, there's only one Alvin Kamara, right? That comes in and just busts through Sean Payton's weirdness. I'm scared, but I'm doing it anyway. So this is my Cam Scatterbo, but I'm firing with Harvey. 2nd round pick, great receiving profile. I like him as a player quite a bit. And if he hits, he's going to hit huge. So he's going to be a league winner. So I don't like the Dobbins signing. That was annoying. Estime's actually pretty solid. So that's what we're looking at there. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun pick. It's expensive. It could go down in flames, and we could be seeing Jaleel McLaughlin somehow getting touches again. But that's a fun risk I'm willing to take on a high upside play.
High upside play. Travis Etienne. We've talked a lot about the Jags. I know we've talked about the backfield with you directly this season. I want to bring it up one more time because we're in that area we're trying to figure out. We all want to be involved in Liam Cohen's offense in the backfield. And think about, the way it was in Tampa, right? It's 2 guys. So even if Etienne's the lead guy, is he, getting 18 touches a week? Is it a mix and match? Is this a committee? Break it down one final time this preseason. I'll probably ask you again before the season starts. But give me one more time. Travis Etienne's the lead guy, right? How aggressive should we be at rostering him?
They got that young GM there, Gladstone, and when they picked Basel Tootin, I gave him the side eye. I was, hey, what are you doing to my boy over there? But that's a signal to me. It's a new organization, new coaching staff. There's really no, other than maybe Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas, there's really no commitment to any of these other guys. So I still like Etienne as a player and as a guy I've rooted for, but last year was gnarly for him. He was just not, he was a shell of the guy that was really successful the prior few years. So not really advocating for Etienne at this point, I got to be honest. But I mean, the spin zone, Ray, the positive would be Jag season was lost. They weren't really worried about playoffs, and Etienne was eating Chick-fil-A and hanging out, and we're not too worried. And that's what happened. And he'll be recharged this season. But, most of the time when this happens, it's not good for the future.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. It's really interesting. And this is another example of how quickly things change. In 2023, so just 2 years ago, Etienne ran for 1,000 yards, had 11 rushing touchdowns, and caught 58 passes.
Yep.
He's Bucky Irving.
Yep.
2 years ago. Things change fast in the NFL. You talk a lot about rounds and stuff, by the way, Russ. Tootin was drafted in the 4th round, which is kind of not aggressive anymore, but, it's kind of on that next year. In the old days, everyone got taken 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. Now 4th round running backs, they can be something, right? 3rd and 4th round backs, it's not like it used to be with them.
Yeah, this class was a really good one, but generally running backs go later now. So we saw with Bucky Irving last year, the 4th round can be a really valuable round and is more like the 3rd. And, guys from, Jamal Charles, David Johnson, we're seeing guys like that shift into the 4th round in the new decade here in the 2020s. So, and that's why with Cam Scatterbo, I'm looking at it and I say, all right, 4th round, not my favorite, but if you want to go all in on that type of guy, these 4th round running backs are pretty intriguing. And there's a few others, Dylan Sampson, that I'm interested in as well.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. He wrote a rookie expectations quarterback piece that we talked about last week. You're working on a running back piece as well. That should be dropping this week, I guess?
Yes, sir, this week.
And that's a big one. We talked about it. There's graphs and charts and tables, and Russ goes back and looks at the history of the position with the youngsters. So look forward to that here in the next couple of days from Russ. Speaking of a rookie that I'm sure will come up when people say, oh, rookie running backs this year, Jaydon Blue. There's you look at depth charts, and I've kind of poked around a little bit, and you'll see Jaydon Blue often listed as a third back. You'll see Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams ahead of him, which I understand, right? I get that. Williams looked like he was basically washed, as the young kids say these days. I think Miles Sanders kind of the same thing. So are Williams and Sanders legit threats to blocking Blue from being a thing this year? Is this going to be Williams and Sanders the first 4 weeks, and then here comes Jaydon Blue in the second half of the season? Do I have it completely wrong? Is Blue not a thing this year for the Cowboys?
They're going to get the veteran bump to begin the year. Again, all these guys are on new teams, so there's no organizational investment. Blue's a nice pick there out of Texas, so I think the talent might have slipped a little. He was never really featured at Texas, but interesting in that depth chart. You mentioned Javonte has not been the same since that knee injury, and Miles Sanders, what's he been up to? He was on the Panthers for a little while, right? So that's where we're at with Miles Sanders at this point in his career. It'll probably be a committee to start the year, and it's one of those where you play Jaydon Blue. All right, I want to see 15% of the snaps week 1. By week 3, maybe he's up to 25 and he's making some big plays, and it'll build like that. So you're playing a full season play if you're drafting Blue. I would hold him for a month if you draft him now, and if it's best ball, you kind of know you're waiting. So you have other options to begin the year anyway. So that's what you're looking at with Blue.
He's about 48 at running back right now. His ADP is about 160.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about with like Scatterboo. Like if Scatterboo was in that zone, you'd be interested, right? Like, so be interested in Jaydon Blue at that zone. Why not? I think that I've drafted Blue myself. I'm taking him at that price point. What about the situation? And it's another one where, I think what you just said there is really important as just a broader topic, Russ. The idea that, we drafted these young running backs or young position players at any spot, and people are going to draft him and drop him in week 3, right? They're going to draft Jaydon Blue. He's going to get 6 touches the first 3 games. They're going to drop him. And then he's going to become their starter from week 6 on, right? So I think it's very important, like Russ just said, to remember that a lot of times, even if these organizations have big plans, let's say for these running backs, at the start, the veterans do get the work, right? So do you find yourself, because I find myself answering this question a lot once the season begins and getting really frustrated by it. It's like, why did you draft this guy if you were going to bail on him right away? Is that kind of how you look at the majority of the young players, and especially a lot of the running backs that we've been talking about today?
So let's go back to Bucky Irving, right?
Okay.
Finished the year with what, 1,500 yards?
Yeah.
That first month, I mean, he was not getting a lot of snaps, 30%, and getting less than 10 touches every week until week 4. So that was a slow burn. And I imagine a lot of people either dropped him or he was on waivers for the first month of the season, if not more. So yeah, especially 4th and 5th round running backs, even if they are better than the starters, they're not going to get it right away, like say a Janty or a Hampton, where they have that big investment and teams are going to go to them a little quicker. So that's another factor here too. You hear all the NFL players talk about it. The young guys got to earn their role if they're not a first-round pick.
Kerryon Henderson with the Patriots was a 2nd-round pick, and he's not a huge guy, but he's a burner. He's fast. He can catch passes. Obviously, the new leadership there in New England wants this guy to be a significant part of their offense. They still have Rhamondre Stevenson, though, who can catch the pass, who's been effective at the NFL level, who's got a fairly substantial contract for a running back. Is this another one of those scenarios where it's Stevenson at the start and Henderson takes over? Do you think it's a mix and match scenario? Like, is this kind of like the Chargers East, where we got the veteran and the young guy? Talk us through what your expectations are with the Patriots backfield.
I like Henderson. I do look at Stevenson as a potential sticking point, though. I'm still drafting Henderson, but with the reality of Stevenson's a good NFL running back, and he actually may be better in a part-time role or sort of a duo committee than the featured back they were trying to make him the last couple years. So that's the reality there. I don't think Vrabel will toss him in the hamper just because Henderson's playing well. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. We all know Stevenson's a competent NFL running back, especially in a better system. That efficiency might go up. So that's going to be an annoying one if you're a Henderson guy, but might be cheap to grab Stevenson at this point. I don't know the ADP.
I got it here. Henderson's coming off the board at 60 overall since the mid-June. Yeah. Stevenson's 125. So he's half his cost.
A little more expensive than you'd want for a handcuff situation, right. But what, around 12, 13, 11. So, if you want to invest in Vrabel and thinking that offense is going to be better with Drake May, maybe a handcuff situation.
Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Isaac Arendo, Rashad White. That's the group of guys that are all back-to-back there. So, Garendo, Spears, we can dream on. White, as we've said many times, White's just not a good running back. He can catch a pass. He's not a good running back. So I don't know. Would Stevenson appeal to you given those four names, Garendo, Spears, White? Would he appeal to you, or would you just say, hey, guys, if you're drafting Christian McCaffrey, just take Isaac Garendo and be done with it?
That's an interesting range for Stevenson. I like him there out of that crew. And as you mentioned, that's more of the spare parts running backs right there, where Rashad White really not a runner, purely almost a receiving back at this point. But in terms of those fantasy options, I like Stevenson there.
By the way, one final note. The next guy on the list is Tootin, who we just talked about. What about Trey Benson? He's right there too. Now, Benson probably doesn't have much of a role, but James Conner, another year older, bumps and bruises there. Like, Trey Benson to me is like, I'm taking a shot at that price point. He's right there with Ray Davis. I'm taking a shot. Benson intrigue you compared to some of those other names?
He does. More so than all those guys in terms of upside. And we're playing upside on those later round picks, especially if it's not a handcuff. I think Benson has standalone value purely based on Connor injury. Connor's already stuck around 3 or 4 more years than I expected.
Right.
So, it's going to happen eventually. Maybe it doesn't happen this year. And maybe you're sitting there with zeros piling up for Benson, but I think he's very much worth a shot. 3rd round pick there. So pretty high investment. I like it. I like the play. But again, I liked it last year too. And that didn't happen. So you're just playing on injury, which you don't want to admit in public, but here I am doing that right now.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Head over to FG, get his dynasty rankings. Are updated every week. He did the rookie expectation. What's the exact title here? Rookie expectations quarterback last week. The rookie expectations running back will be this week. I assume wide receiver and tight end will follow those, Russ?
Yes, sir. Yep, those will be coming out in the next couple weeks. And that's the main chunk of the research for dynasty and redraft for me is those articles. So go check them out.
You'll be hosting, I assume, the live stream tonight as well, right?
Yes, sir. 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the crew on. we'll probably sift through some depth charts and go through that.
Yeah, but look usually it's me doing double duty. Today it's Russ. Look at Russ stepping forward. RDB says, I have the 108 pick. Should I go Ibuka or Caleb Johnson in our 12-man Superflex League? We always like to have more context. We don't have it here. Which direction would you go, Johnson or Ibuka, without knowing anything else?
I'd go Caleb Johnson, but it's an either or, depends on your running back and wide receiver depth chart, Artie, but I would go with Caleb. I do think he has really solid upside in that offense, and Najee's gone. That role is his. It really is. And, you watch Caleb Johnson and it's not all fun, but when he's getting 300 touches, it's going to be real fun.
I would agree. No. So, yes, we both say the same thing. By the way, you're in Scott Fishbowl, I assume?
I am, yeah.
What round are you on? Are you guys moving along? We had a guy time out yesterday, which was fun in the first round.
Oh God, I should check. We got through one round yesterday. I was proud of us.
Right.
And now we're on to round 2.
How many?
And I think I had the 2 pick this year.
Okay, who'd you pick?
I went with Allen, not confidently, looking at some of that scoring, but it's Josh Allen. Scored 550 points in that format last year, so we're gonna fire.
Did you make your second pick yet, or are you still waiting on that?
No.
Yeah, we had a guy time out and go 8 hours, and then it was, I guess people were amped up because it was pick every 3 minutes. Like I was walking my dog last night. I'm like, oh my God, my pick's up again. I took Jalen Hurts in the first round at pick 10.
Okay.
I took Jaden Daniels in the second round.
Oh.
And then in round 3, I grabbed Breece Hall.
You're in round 3 already?
Yeah, we just started. That's what I'm saying. We went crazy after we had 8 hours for one pick, and then this is a league where you can, for those folks wondering, basically this is a flex league. Like you don't have to start any position. It's really wild. It's totally different. I don't know how much of a fan I am of it, to be honest. You can start 2 quarterbacks, so did do that. So I've got Hurts and Daniels. It's got all kinds of bonuses for first downs and targets and all this kind of stuff. So no one really knows.
Right?
There's
no way.
Is that good or bad? That no one really knows? Like there's running back, wide receiver. There's no plan that anyone really knows. So it's all over the place. Is that good or bad? You're laughing.
Honestly, I like generally knowing what's gonna work,
right?
Just for my sanity, but Scott Fish is over there in the Mad Lab scientist, so with the lab coat on. So we appreciate him, and we'll figure it out. Us especially, but we'll figure it out, right? Right, Ray? Ray?
We'll figure it out. You know how I figured it out? I read Scott. I don't even remember his name. Tyler Beaker's article over at fantasyguru.com. We do have one. He wrote an article about Scott Fishbowl, so if you want to read more on that. Fascinating setup, which again is basically an entire flex team. You can only use 2 quarterbacks, but you don't have to use a single player at any position. So it's really interesting. So we'll regroup when that's all over and compare teams, and I'm sure they'll both be excellent teams, and we'll finish both in the top 10 overall. There we go.
That's right.
There you go.
Right.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. You can again find him over there. You can find him tonight on the live stream at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You normally find him on the show Fridays with us here. He stepped up for Rhamondre Marsaul today. Rhamondre will take his spot on Friday. Don't forget to go to FG. Ask Russell those questions in the Discord. Read his quarterback rookie expectation article. Look out for the other ones, including the running back this week. And been great talking to you. Thanks for stepping up again, Russ. We appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll say we'll talk to you in a week, but now it's going to be like 10 days. So it'll be even longer. So I'll have to wait for my Russell Clay fix. So maybe I'll just hit you up and we'll talk pretzels. I don't know. Something like that.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. He's Russell Clay. Follow me again on Twitter X at Russell J. Clay. Justin Fensterman will be on the show tomorrow. I'll be on with Jeff Mans. Remember, the Elite Sports Show is now 2 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday on Sirius XM. So it's an hour earlier moving forward. So I'll be on with Jeff 2 to 5. Again, Justin Fensterman hosts here tomorrow. And I'll be back with you on Thursdays and Fridays. For Russell Clay, I am Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by the one and only fantasyguru.com. Don't forget, go to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up. We'll see you soon, 12 o'clock Eastern Time here on the show tomorrow. Have a good one, folks.